Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Emily Sophia, here to break down for you guys the latest episode of Limitless, and we are on the episode that is entitled The Legend of Marcos Ramos. So, spoiler alert before I dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be bearing all in this review, although if you happen to click on this video, and you were even remotely curious as to whether or not Limitless is worth watching, I am, at this point, convicted that, yeah, this is a great show. And it is definitely well worth watching. Apologize for the alliteration there. Namely because it's a thriller crime drama show that differentiates itself from the pack with just its sheer levity and upbeatness and humor and sharpness, and it's got a great identity so far. Already I find so much to enjoy about it. Even beyond the traditional crime drama procedural stuff, of course, you've got a guy who is serving as an FBI consultant, and inevitably, week after week, there's a new case on his table. But what makes the show so interesting and magnetizing is the way that it weaves the NZT drug into the life of our character, into the lives of those he loves, and even, it's the impact of Brian Finch using this drug is already beginning to radiate out into other parts of his life that he realizes, well, he can't protect and he can't keep sacred. And it's that moral dilemma that is really starting to reach a boil already, and we're 3 episodes in? I really should know this, but my brain is not functioning properly. Perhaps I could use me a little bit of NZT as well to get things all efficient up in the noggin, but anyway, so I'm not really going to talk about the case of the week in this review, namely because, well, if you watch the show, then you saw kind of how it went down, and like the classic crime drama, it is a case that is pretty much presented and established at the very beginning of the episode, and by the end it is resolved. And don't mind my wet-ish looking hair, it's actually the morning and I just got out of the shower, so I was actually tired enough that I shampooed and conditioned my face and exfoliated my hair. So, I'm well on my way. And don't be judging me. Anyway, so I would like to talk about the points of the show that I find the most interesting. And while the cases are fun, and it's fun to see how Brian on NZT goes about acquiring evidence for these cases, the points of interest for me are really kind of what are the broader implications of him being an NZT user. And as we can see, already his little multifaceted life is taking on quite a few new dimensions as we actually get to know Brian as a character a lot better in this episode and realize that on NZT, he's actually the kind of guy who wants to help people. And not every user of such a brain-enhancing drug would be compelled to actually do right by his family, do right by the people that he cares about. There's all too many ways to selfishly exploit the use of such a drug, and that's something that Rebecca Harris, the FBI agent working with Brian, that's something that she calls to his attention as he's having a little bit of a crisis over reconnecting with his ex-girlfriend, Shauna. Now, we see that, of course, his prior relationship with Shauna, well, NZT wasn't in the picture yet, and he was going through what I would understand and perceive as a bout of depression, and was a little bit lost in his own mind, and so that relationship fell apart. And then, hey, he just so happens to reconnect with her while his brain is functioning at its fullest and foremost capacity. And yeah, I mean, that's good enough grounds for Shauna to find her interest in him rekindled. Of course, this is something that Brian, not being an unintelligent dude, catches on to, and so he even though we've got this murder mystery case that's going on and he is applying his creativity and intelligence to the resolution of the case, we also get to see him kind of breaking things down about this relationship and how he feels kind of like a dual split person. There's normal Brian and then NCT Brian. And that's something that his friend and confidant, Rebecca, tries to blow out of the water and say, look, you are one person. The fact of the matter is that NZT enhances your ability to do good. Sure, there's more that you could do, but your character remains consistent and the same. And she delivers a really awesome little speech over at Brian's apartment, which I think honestly is my favorite scene in the entire episode. For all of the fun little crime-solving montages that we get to see of Brian on NZT and like building this freaking castle of rainbow sticky notes. And I mean, he even goes so far as to help Shauna by getting to turn her apartment complex into a historical landmark, thereby keeping it from being, bulldozed or whatever the problem was there. So it's clear that his capacity for doing good is enriched by the drug. It's not like he's necessarily a different person. And in fact, later on, when Brian does go to reconnect with Shauna and really opens himself up to her, they just spend the entire night talking and he realizes, oh, hey, the NZT is worn off. Of course, this newly budded relationship quickly careens to a halt by the end of the episode as Brian is approached by exactly the kind of person who I was anticipating would show up, that being a certain Mr. Sands. So Mr. Sands comes to him on behalf of Eddie, of course, who is running this secret NZT-oriented organization on the side of his blooming political career. So the way that I see it is this. Eddie was the one who sold Brian on the idea of the NZT lifestyle. He's a politician. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to make this kind of stuff compelling. And of course, when Brian was initially, when he encountered the drug, he was in quite a desperate situation. So, But anyhow, cue the entrance of Mr. Sands, just as Brian is about to have a lovely little date with his lady friend. And well, the time has come for him to carry out assignments on behalf of Eddie's organization. We're starting to get a little glimpse into the tiers of power in this NZT thing, for lack of a better word. And instantly, Brian's fear response kicks in and he realizes, like, oh crap, there is not a thing in my life that cannot be touched by NZT, by what I have to do being on NZT. And that's a pretty huge, far-reaching dilemma for him. He can't even really tell the FBI about the situation and reach out and seek help from Nas or Rebecca or her partner or anybody, because nobody knows how it is exactly that he is able to tolerate the drug and he can't compromise that organization. So we see that he is being pulled in at least 3 different directions. The FBI, Eddie and Mr. Sands, and then of course his own family, his own personal sphere. And he realizes that, well, his desire to and ability to do good in the context of the NZT drug is compromised by the fact that, the sheer fact that he has to use it in order to carry out tasks for other people with vested interests. And that, I think, is where the show is really going to continue to shine and really become fascinating. And I'm just so happy that they have set up that particular source of tension early on. Quite frankly, I'd be really bummed if we were just kind of going through the serialized procedural crime drama, case by case, yada, 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 because, again, while it's fun to see how Brian navigates the world with his super brain, there's so much more to it than that. And I think that we're going to be getting into kind of more of the crisis side of things as time wears on. Now, something that I also do want to draw attention to is something that I love about the show is not only its soundtrack, which I think really kind of enhances the pacing and the storytelling of the show. I also love its visual quality and how we're sort of seated in the mind of Brian, of course, through all the monologues and everything else, but we get to see kind of how he sees the world. Not only does the color palette change when he is firing at all cylinders, but also we get to see, like, there's kind of this comic book action novel style to the show, like with Rebecca's super awesome takedown or whatever that little montage was called, where that's all in Brian's mind, and we get to see Rebecca say, like, why would I ever say something like that? Like, you know, you ran like a rabbit, now you're gonna die like a snake, or just something totally ridiculous. And again, this show is infused with such a solid sense of humor. And yeah, the visual quality and the pacing and just kind of the identity that the show has taken on overall lead me to believe that I think this is one of the best new shows of fall that I've gotten to see so far, and I would super encourage any and all of you watching this to continue on, because I think that this is going to not only get more fun and more crazy, but I think the thriller aspect of things is really going to get played up as Brian is torn in all of these different directions. Yeah, a little bit of tug of war, three-way style. Not that kind of three-way, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I super enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed that we're getting to see more sides of Brian's life, that he doesn't have to be at Rebecca's side or in the office at everyone's beck and call at every constant moment. And so we get to kind of explore more of the world through Brian, through NZD. We also get to see that he's kind of building a little bit more of a relationship with his guardians, Mike and Ike, and putting them to good use as well. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I'm so happy, too, that Jennifer Carpenter is back on television, that she gets to play such a strong and awesome character. Again, lots of talent, lots of fun and freshness and levity, and I am super glad to be watching this show. So, thank you guys so much for watching my review. Feel free to let me know about your thoughts, and there's so many silly, quirky little moments that I'd love to draw attention to, but I just don't have time. So, by all means, hit up the comments, share your thoughts, share your favorite moments, share even your not favorite moments or things that you hope the show will progress into. It's gonna be a good time. So, thank you guys so much. The Walking Dead is back this weekend, and you know I'm gonna be all over that. So join me for that. Join me for another show, whatever else I get to do. And as always, I will be back before you